What's going on, folks? Pastor Eric here. Happy Thursday to you, and thank you for watching this week's Beyond Sunday. These videos are designed to help equip you to follow Jesus beyond Sunday. And this past Sunday, in the sermon, I gave a take on a Jesus story that has confounded pastors and theologians for centuries. And you can go back and listen to that sermon. I'll link it below. Or if you're on our email list and you receive the email, it'll be in there as well. But in the sermon, I suggested that perhaps Jesus was functioning out of his humanity as opposed to out of his divinity. We talk in the Christian faith about Jesus being fully God and fully human. And so it makes sense that sometimes he would operate out of his humanity as well as out of his divinity. To me, it feels like this is one of those times when he told the woman asking for help for her daughter that, quote, the children had to be fed first, and that their food shouldn't be thrown to the dogs, end quote, about what he said. And it feels kind of like a dismissive answer to someone who's expressing what they feel to be a real need. It's kind of something that you would do when you're exhausted or burnt out, and someone comes asking you for just one more thing, and you just don't have anything to give. I know I've certainly done that. I'm sure you've done that too. Now, there's a lot that we don't know about this passage, and so to really read into it, I don't know if that's entirely helpful. What I think it is okay to say is that perhaps Jesus acted in an uncharacteristic manner, and that was a sign that he was not okay. In the month of October, we're talking about being okay, not being okay. And so for us to be okay, not being okay, and then to come to Jesus to help lead us out of the hole that we find ourselves in, we have to recognize the warning signs of our unokayness. I just made up a word for you there. Now, we live in a culture of grinding and powering through, of not admitting weakness or vulnerability. We've been conditioned to ignore the warning signs of us not being okay. But we can't hide from it or hide it indefinitely. It's a bit like the beach ball. When you take the beach ball into the pool and you hold it underwater, eventually it's going to force its way out. And the longer you hold it under, the more forcefully and unpredictably it will break through and emerge from the water. It's the same with our condition of not being okay. The more we try to hide it and the more we try to hide from it, eventually it's going to come out. And the longer we hold it in, the more unpredictably and more forcefully it will come out. So it is better when we recognize it ourselves, when we recognize it early. And just as Jesus was acting maybe uncharacteristically, and that was a sign that he was not okay. I think when we act uncharacteristically, that's how we can know we're not okay. So think about the things that you do, that maybe the ways in which you act out that later you wonder what that was about, that was out of character. When do those things happen? How often do they happen? What tends to trigger them? Look at those as signs that maybe you aren't okay right now. And then resist the conditioning that you've received from the world to ignore it, to push or to power through it, and instead lean into whatever spiritual self-care practices are helpful for you, that helps you to connect with God. Maybe it's reading scripture or praying or listening to worship music, taking a walk in nature, taking a nap, whatever it is that connects you with God. Those practices can be places where Jesus meets you with the abundance of the kingdom of heaven that brings healing and wholeness and love, and that makes you okay. So that's my Beyond Sunday thoughts for today. I hope those are helpful. I'd love to hear from you. So drop comments or questions below in the comments. You can shoot me a message if you're watching this on Facebook, or just respond to our email. I'm looking forward to seeing you this Sunday. And one of the ways also we're going to be continuing this conversation is through something we're calling the living room. And so I've also included a link to be able to sign up for that. It's going to be immediately following our 10 a.m. service. We're going to have some food. We're going to have some conversation around the topic of faith and mental health. And so hopefully you can participate in that. God bless. Have a great rest of your week, and thanks for watching Beyond Sunday.